On today's show, we will discuss body upkeep and self-care, and then later we will have Kayla Day join us to share about an organization that she is part of. There's a phrase the women of our church Bible study have been saying as of late, and it's walk like a daughter. More specifically, a daughter of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Some of the ladies were saying how they felt shame, how they weren't sure what their worth was, talking about depression, anxiety, and how they just felt so very overwhelmed by so many things. As I was listening, you could just feel it and see it all over them. Their heads hung low, no smiles, no spark, no confidence. And then one lady spoke up and said, "Ladies, we need to start walking like daughters, daughters of the Most High King." And in that moment, there was a little bit of a shift that took place. It's like a light bulb came on. I continued with it and said, yes, let's hold our heads up high, walk with boldness, walk in freedom, because you know who you belong to. And when you know who your Father is, you will walk different. You can because you know this Father, He will never leave you, He will never shame you, and He will never stop loving you. Oh, friends, do you know this Father who truly desires to help you and to bring you into freedom? This Father who wants to restore everything that Satan has tried to steal from you. A Father who will never give up on you. Oh, He's so good, always faithful, and nothing like we see here on earth because He's perfect in all His ways. Do you know Him? Do you trust Him? Are you willing to seek and surrender it all to Him? Draw close to Him, because if and when you do, oh, that atmosphere, it's going to change. A shift will take place, and you will walk differently. You will know that you are seen and that you do have worth. 2 Corinthians says, "I will be a father to you, and you will be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty." We are His daughters. We are His sons. And because of this, we can walk this world confidently, with hope and with a joy that abounds even when things around us seem to be falling apart. So let's start walking like we know who our Father is. Get those heads up and let those around you know, I am a daughter of the King. And we are just three ladies, all with big opinions, always backed by a biblical standpoint. Let's talk about it.
This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, "If you can dream it, we can create it." They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And today's question, ladies, came because something has shifted in my life, and I don't know what it is, but I'm all about this body care right now. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's because I lost some weight. I don't know, but I enjoy it, so I'm adding a lot of things in. So I brought two things with me today. This is because of you. So I've never heard of it before in my life, but dry brushing. And so I was like, well, that sounds interesting, so I'll pick it up and try it. And it's just, you brush your body.
To your heart.
To your heart. That's right. Everything's to your heart. And I do it right now. I do it probably 3 times a week. So I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I do it 3 times a week for like 5 to 10 minutes. And then it does say you should shower afterwards.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's doing.
So you do that to open up your lymphatic system.
Yeah.
And so that's where a ton of sickness is born, is like in your lymph nodes. You know, you have thousands of them. I'm not like a professional, but I did research this a long time ago because of my friend who had cancer, because she did it every single day.
Yeah.
And so I do know that, that it's, it's supposed to help with all the inflammation and prevent sickness. And there's so many health benefits from it.
I was like, why
but
not?
That's awesome. Yeah.
The first time I did, I was like, this kind of hurts. But now it feels good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I got a specific one for my face. And this one's really soft.
That is amazing. That is something
and
I
it's
have
curved for your face. And I really enjoy doing this one. And I probably do this twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. And you actually can. It's really weird. If you look in the mirror and you just do one side, you will see that this side has went down.
In inflammation.
And this one's a little puffy still. So you actually do see
Wow.
that. And so I was like, sure, I'll do it. But I've just been doing some different things, some facial creams. I started drinking a little bit of water. It's not to the extreme that it needs to be. I'm working out 5 days a week. Very easy workout. My kids make fun of me saying it's not really anything, but it is because I'm moving my body for 20 minutes. I'm really big on the eye care right now. I'm trying to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this so bad. So I'm trying different things. Vitamins, the zinc, the D3, flossing, those, just body care.
Brilliant.
I'm really big into it right now to try different things. So what do you guys do? Give me the tips. I want to know.
Go ahead.
So I do dry brushing, and then I also use an app called Leaply, which is it's just like a 3 to 5 minute lymphatic drainage system, because research shows that so much inflammation. I was telling her I am in a season where I feel really puffy. I don't feel my best. My cortisol is very high just because of the stress of life, good, bad, all the things in between, just the intensity of life right now. So I feel puffy. So that is very, very good for you to just unlock your lymph nodes. And the app is $20. And it's so every single day, it's just a guided, have you seen those guided prayers? It's a guided, just rubbing where some of the big lymph nodes are, and you kind of unlock them. And I within seconds can feel the drainage. I'm that sensitive where I can actually feel my sinuses drain just from doing that. So that's one thing that I've done for a good while. I switched to tallow products this year for my face, and it's just I have a friend who's making it, and it's all natural, and it's just beef tallow. So it's super good for your skin, hydrating. I actually was able to help my daughter. She's 14, and her whole face was really chapped from walking in the cold on the campus every night for practice. The tallow healed it tremendously. Same as my son with some eczema.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that.
I did get blood work done this year and had all my hormones and all of that tested. And so I'm on a journey right now that's pretty recent of just trying to regulate some things.
Yeah,
one of the things
we don't know what's out of whack in our bodies sometimes.
Right, and we just try to guess, and I feel like you're shooting in the dark by just being oh yeah, infomercials are huge, and everybody tells you what they want you to buy, and so it gets really overwhelming in my opinion with marketing and Instagram and stuff. So I do take a trace mineral. It's called Power Pack. I love the grape. It's 1,200 milligrams of vitamin C, and it's got a ton of trace minerals in it. Ashwagandha I take just to regulate my stress. I take other multivitamins we were saying, vitamin D and B12.
B12, yeah.
I do try to drink water, and I do try to eat well. I know that I don't eat enough right now, so I'm working on eating more protein.
Yeah, my eating well, that's out the window.
Yeah.
I can't get that right yet.
I do a lot of alternatives. I love to bake, so I figured out how to make things taste really great with almond flour, applesauce, things just some alternatives. I've done that, and I just started doing a kettlebell exercise, and I do try to walk, but not as much as Teresa.
Well,
what do you do,
really
girl?
great.
I've always walked. You guys know that. I've always been a walker. I will just start by saying I had a dad who lined up a litany of vitamins that he took all my life. I saw my dad take all these vitamins and do all these things vitamin-wise. And my dad died of heart disease because doing one good thing doesn't negate 10 negative things that he was doing. He did that to himself. He didn't eat right. He didn't, okay. So I'm going to start out by saying that. And so I've always been a walker. even from the time I was a teenager, I walked all my life. Just something I think is good for my brain as well as my body. I take some vitamins, but I refuse to go down rabbit holes of reading too much information and doing all these crazy things. So I take collagen powder, I take creatine because I've been lifting weights for several months, and I am taking D and K now because I've been getting sick a lot lately, and I started taking zinc and magnesium, and that's all. I am not taking anything else.
Yeah, you really.
I am not.
You could take a lot of vitamins.
You could.
I know.
And I'm
You
You
get
gotta be
sucked
careful
in
probably
really
about
easily.
Yeah,
how many
so
vitamins we're
I'm not.
taking.
Yeah, and your body can only absorb so much, and
Yes.
you need to know what it.
Exactly. So I also have always been one that likes to put things on my skin. So what I started to do about a year ago is scan things with the Yuka app.
Yuka app, yeah.
And if something I'm using is counterintuitive because it's got all these additives and all these things, then it'll give you an option. So I've kind of switched my skincare over to things that are paraben clean, yes.
Yeah.
And thus I've always been an advocate of putting lotions on your face, moisturizers and things under my eyes and stuff like that. And I always wear makeup, always. Like I hardly ever leave the house without makeup. It's like important to me to have makeup on. So those are the things I do. Like I said, I could sit around and go down rabbit holes and have myself in all kinds of stuff. But I only have a certain amount of time a day to.
It does add a lot of
It
time.
does.
I'm like, this is adding,
know.
the creams and the
Yes.
this. I'm like, I'm adding like 15, 20 minutes, then the workouts.
Yeah.
I'm adding time to my
And a shower.
Now, I will leave you with this. I went to the gym one day, ran into this young fella that grew up over at my house. Hey, how you doing? Good. How are you doing, Teresa? Glad to see you at the gym. Yeah. And we get to talking about, I said, yeah, I don't mind working out. It's the time out of my day that it takes that bothers me more than anything. And he said to me, well, hopefully we'll get it all back on the end. And I thought, well, that's it. Okay. So the hour that I spend there, maybe all those hours I'll get on the end of my life, hopefully. But
Yeah, I think working out. I think food is probably the biggest thing. Like you don't have to take a ton of vitamins if you eat a really well balanced diet. Yeah. So I really love to just add smoothies in because it's like you can pack so much stuff in. My kids love them. So there are some really amazing protein drinks or fresh smoothies that you can make.
Yeah, I have to be careful with that because if it has any weird taste at all, I will gag on it, so I cannot do it. But
and they are expensive
it.
for trial and error to find one that you like.
Yeah.
But just like adding spinach is huge for us, like blending that up. It makes it look green, but my kids all seem to love it, so I try to do things like that.
Yeah. I think it's important. And the verse, 1 Corinthians 6:19 says, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. And I do believe that sometimes, we put a lot of time on our mental, which we should, and things like that, but we also do need to take care of our bodies.
we do.
It's important.
It's great.
And so when we come back, we will have our guest of the day.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And today we have a beautiful guest with us. Let us know your name and just a little bit about yourself.
So I am Kayla Day. I live a little near the Johnstown area in Somerset County, and I'm with my husband Colin and our 2 children. Luella is 6, she's going to be 7, and our son is 3. I am a stay-at-home mom. Luckily, I get to do that, and that probably started, I would say, when our daughter was around 1 year old. She received a diagnosis of a very rare genetic condition called Prader-Willi syndrome. And that affects Basically, if you think of it in a way, anything that your brain would control by itself that you cannot control about your body, from the hypothalamus, which would be pain sensitivity, like that tolerance, the temperature regulation in your body, so she cannot regulate temperature at all. She'll get very cold, and then, we have to help her warm up, or vice versa. Along with that is also your hunger satiety, so kind of that brain-gut connection that tells you when you feel full. So it's strange, they start out being failure to thrive because they have very low muscle tone, but eventually they say it could happen between 4 and 8, sometimes later till 13. They reach the stage called hyperphagia where they never feel full again, and they feel constantly hungry. So obviously, starting out as a new parent, this was very difficult for us. Not only difficult in the aspect of trying to figure out what to do, but who to turn to and where to find help, because we didn't have a great start out with her, because there's no knowledge in the Johnstown area.
I've actually never even
No.
I've heard of it. I actually, because I used to work in the medical field,
Yeah.
we treated a male and gave him testosterone.
Right. Was he older?
Older.
Yes.
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 Yes. But I know all. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But it's rare enough that there's not knowledge unless someone's dealt with it in the medical field, or they've touched on it going through school, and it was probably pretty brief for them to touch on it. But in Johnstown area, things, I don't want to say got pushed under the rug, because that's definitely not the right term, but knowledge-wise, there wasn't enough there that it kept seeming normal, or maybe, this is a NICU baby. NICU babies are, less strong. It probably didn't seem like something severe. And
when did it when did it first show up?
So we didn't get the testing until we ended up going to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh for what we thought was something wrong with her swallowing. She kind of made a gurgling noise that the pediatrician thought might be just milk laying in her throat. And we were concerned because, again, first-time parents, you're panicking about anything and everything anyways. And putting that all together with the low tone, and we would have to keep trying to wake her up constantly. She would just kind of lay with her mouth open and her eyes closed for feedings, and she was just very weak. We weren't certain where to go with that. So when we made this ENT appointment and we went to Children's, they said, the noise she's making is just from like a little bit of something in her throat, called laryngomalacia, and she'll probably grow out of that. That's just like a little bit too long of a skin flap in there, nothing to worry about. But we want to do a swallow study and see, why she's so small, why is she not gaining weight, and what's going on here. So they did that, and they ended up finding out she was silently aspirating all of the fluid the whole time. So it was just going into her lungs, because she didn't have that suck, swallow, breathe reflex. So with that being said, they immediately admitted her, trying to figure anything out as to why that would be happening to her. And we went through every specialty. I mean, they were wonderful. Every specialty came through, checked on her. We were there probably a little over a week, and whenever we got to a point where they said, every specialist has been in here, we've checked her, she had a brain bleed from just Pitocin from me giving birth and her being weak. They checked everything at that point, and nothing added up to why this would be happening to her. They called in genetics and pretty much said, this is kind of where we lastly go when we're uncertain. And about 6 weeks later, they had called one evening and they said, Luella has Prader-Willi syndrome. This is an abnormality within the brain, that it doesn't work properly in the hypothalamus, all those things she can't control, and she will eventually never feel full. So obviously hope wasn't really there in that moment. And it was a lot for us to come out of that spot. I already had postpartum, so that didn't help anything. And, you know, I didn't feel like that's something that's really taken care of well either in our area. It's not talked about much, and you have to leave that up to the women who have postpartum to want to talk about it, and they don't, you know, or you cry for help in a way that people are like, oh, you're doing wonderful. But you're like, no, I don't feel like I am. Something's wrong, you know? So between those different types of things and my husband working full time, trying to make sure that we had an income, we discussed it and said, you know, I need to quit.
Yeah.
She has a feeding tube at this point. We're not going to afford a daycare that's going to want to do that kind of help for her, nor do we think that's right. So I ended up quitting. And it was a very long first 2 years of just trying to figure out where we belong. You know, friends changed, family changed. The whole family dynamic that we thought we were building wasn't there. So, you know, you always have that grief of what you thought your life was going to be. And there was just many stages of grief between, you know, what we wanted for our daughter and what she was able to now have, and what we thought our life was going to look like, and then what it was going to look like now. And I did not grow up very religious, so we were more of the family that went to church on holidays. And so I didn't go to God first. I didn't know what to do. And, you know, everybody's say, we're praying for you, we're praying for her, you know, we're praying for the doctors, and, you know, we just want to make sure that everything gets where it's going properly and can help her in the end. And obviously that's all we wanted to. So within these first 2 years, there was such a struggle that we had no idea what to do. I mean, we were angry, we were sad, we were all of the feelings.
Right, all the emotions.
You know, and I feel like we didn't get to enjoy that part of her, like growing and watching her, because everything was a challenge.
Right.
You know, it was like a milestone for a typical child. For her, that was like climbing Everest. I mean, it was insane, you know, for her to roll over. We're just trying to get her to lift her head and eat. Or, you know, I have videos of her just trying to lift both arms and like use that strength. So a lot of things that I think people don't see when they look at like a rare disease family, or, you know, just a child that has more struggles than another, is those mini milestones, you know, that we carry that are just such a huge deal. And the more things that kept happening like that, the more that miracles were happening in front of us, and we weren't even realizing what was going on because of that. So all that aside, we took these difficult moments and we decided to go the advocacy route with it, because what else are we going to do? We didn't want to just sit down and let it overcome our lives, and we never want it to define our daughter. She is strong, sassy little spirit, and she knows it. And we never want her to feel like that is who she is. That's just part of her medical diagnosis.
Correct.
So we started into different things. We met with the Prader-Willi Association, and they're down in Florida, and met amazing other parents. So we were able to connect and, you know, find this help. And with all of that, it just became one thing after another where, you know, I said, well, if I can do this, we can do anything.
Right.
And we ended up starting an organization this year called A Parent's Promise, where we are just trying to bridge that gap for other people who really need that hope in their lives. And they need to find those resources, but they don't know how. So we want to help them, and we're waiting for this nonprofit status, but we're having a resource event on May 16th because of this. So we're super excited to, you know, turn that from God, why me, to God, use me.
Correct. Now, how is she today?
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's so amazing.
So you made it over some big hurdles.
Yes. And there's always, I mean, she's going through a lot, but she is doing things she was never supposed to do.
I love it.
Me too. I love hearing that.
Yeah, I believe God's going to do a complete work for you and her.
Yes.
Where can people find information about this?
So the website is called parentspromisecommunity.org, and what we basically have is all of the events that we're trying to set up right now, women's events and the spring safety event that's in May right now. So there's a Facebook page, there's a website, and all of my information is on both, and there are flyers everywhere. So I'm hoping that, that can get around for everybody to see.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I know that, I wasn't aware of it, and so you're just making people more aware, and I love that, and I love what you're doing, and I truly do believe God has a great plan for you and your daughter and your family. So when we come back, we will have our verse of the day.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Next time on Let's Talk About It, we will be discussing repentance, and Kenny McElhenney will be our guest of the day.
Losing my father to drugs and then my mother 2 years later to it. At 12 years old, I was lost. 6 years after that, my brother was killed. There's no reason other than God why I still have a smile on my face every single day.
Correct.
And if I can share my testimony, my story with people, and it helps them understand they're not alone, then my mission is complete.
All that and more on Let's Talk About It.
Today's verse goes along with my monologue earlier in the episode, and it's found in James 1:17, and it says, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows." This verse tells us that all goodness, blessings, and perfect gifts come from God our Father. It lets us know that He is constant and always reliable. It shows us that He is unchanging and will not waver in His kindness to us. Oh, we know trials and hard times come, but we can rely on God's unchanging nature during these times. He is not the cause of our struggle, but He is our enduring strength during it. Wow, do you get that? In a world that is constantly changing, we serve a God who is our Father, who never changes and wants to bless us with good gifts. With a heart of gratitude, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being all we need, God. You truly are a good, good Father. And until next time, let's talk about it.
When it's time for a new roof, Champion Roofing is your best choice. We're a certified award-winning roofing contractor, meaning your roof is done right the first time. Call today.
Champion Roofing, we're the solution.